The Remarkable People Podcast. Check it out. The Remarkable People Podcast. Listen, do, repeat. For life. The Remarkable People Podcast.
Hello, friends. Welcome to this week's episode of the Remarkable People Podcast. Today, we have our good friend back with us, Mike Lindell. Mike, welcome to the show.
Hey, David, thanks for having me back on. It's a lot of news.
I know, and I know some of it because you and I talked a couple of nights ago. So let's get into it. What is going on in your world in regard of personal, MyPillow, running for governor of Minnesota? Take it away, my friend.
Why don't we start with the top of the news? The Dominion lawsuit, everybody. $1.3 billion. They sued Mike Lindell and MyPillow back in February of 2021. It's been a long 5.5 years of fighting these guys, and they finally dropped the case now. And it's kind of strange, though. They drop it right when yesterday, everybody, on LindellTV.com, if you go there, we dropped all the evidence that actually would have went if we ever would have went to trial. So there's 800 pages, and they're all categorized. You guys can go see what happens in all of our elections, not just the 2020 election. So this is at LindellTV.com. Check that out. But go back to the case now. And by the way, everybody, I will never stop saying, let's melt down these voting machines and turn them into prison bars. 132 countries have banned electronic voting machines. This is great that they dropped the case and that MyPillow, my employees that had nothing to do with this at all, the employee-owned company now can finally breathe a sigh of release, always hanging that over their head. And it's probably going to help MyPillow a lot, David, because we were never able to use a bank or anything and all of our vendors would not give us credit because of because of Arctic frost and attack by our own government, and also when you have a $1.3 billion lawsuit hanging over you, people aren't apt to borrow people like that money or businesses, if right or wrong. So this is a big thing we've had to struggle through, being our own bank, living day by day. And so I'm very much relieved. The media has all asked me, Mike, do you feel vindicated? I'm just happy because my employees don't have to deal with it anymore. And they go, is this a big stress relief? And for me, I'm always optimistic with everything. I only fear the Lord, and it's just one thing off the pile that I don't see it ending anytime soon, because this is a battle of evil and good that's biblical. Okay, this is where I look at things from way up here down, going, okay, we won this piece over here, gets moved here into the win pile, I guess you'd call it. But it's all together. The big win will be, for me, when we get to paper ballots, hand counted, when you're talking about the voting machines and secure our country's elections. But everything's critical there. They brought up, we can get into that when we talk about my governor's run, but back to the machines. So here's where we're at. You had about 5 cases, everybody. The first case was this Dominion case against MyPillow and myself for $1.3 billion. Now it's gone. We can't, neither party can sue each other going back where it was dropped with prejudice, but it doesn't mean that I'm not going to continue to fight to get rid of them. This just takes the lawsuits out of the picture, right? So the other ones that they settled with last summer, none of them could talk about the voting machines and how vulnerable they are and how defective devices are, all these things. They can't talk. I would never have ever agreed to not execute my First Amendment right of free speech. But very much Tina Peters, who did all those years in prison, and she got out. And even the governor of Colorado said, when he pardoned that part of her sentence, said, you can't punish people for their First Amendment right of free speech, where she was punished for that also. And he even said part of her getting out wasn't to silence her. I was almost surprised by that, everybody, because you would think, okay, we're going to let you out, but don't you ever talk about the machine companies again and talk about our elections again. And because that's when the judge sentenced her back in the day, said, you haven't learned your lesson. You're still shouting about our election platforms and getting rid of the voting machines. And Tina's going, yes, I am. And I'm not going to change. You can't, both Tina and I have talked back in the day, you can't unsee what we have seen. If everybody sees, everyone sees knowing what we know, everybody, I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican, you'd be shouting from the rooftops. Start with the Save America Act. You got to be a citizen to vote, everybody. This is so important that everybody get educated. If someone tells you there's no evidence, Mike Lindell's a conspiracy theory. There's no evidence. Everything was overturned in court. They lost in court. No, none of the stuff with the machines have went to court and been found guilty or not guilty based on merit. They've all been shut down ahead of time. You don't have standing. With the way it is now, I think people, if you get an argument with, I don't care if maybe it's someone that absolutely doesn't believe the elections were stolen or that there's a problem in our election, send them to LindellTV.com. You guys go to LindellTV.com. It's like the third square down. It's pinned. It's an 800-page report, and they're all synchronized, so you can see what happened in your state. Maybe you heard something back then. Gee, did Pennsylvania have more votes than voters? Did Antrim County, Michigan, what happened back then? Anything that you might have heard something 5 years ago or 2 years ago, it's all in there. Every piece of evidence in this country came through my teams into one big report now that just dropped yesterday. So I'm really excited and I don't know, people ask me, David, they go, Mike, why now? Why did they want to do this now? Couple of reasons. You got an election coming up, everybody, and I don't care if you change names from Dominion to Liberty Vote. You can change the names all you want. I'm out there being canceled as MyPillow in box stores and everything else back in the day. Do you think I can just go change the name and come in there with my patented pillow and say, hey, you guys, I got a patented pillow. Don't just forget the name. We're going to call it our pillow, right? It ain't going to work, right? So you can't, and you know what? I don't care if these machine companies go make blenders. I have nothing against them as far as that, but they can't run our elections with electronic voting machines. That's the bottom line. And that's what I've been fighting for and will continue to fight every day for. And so that's it with the voting machine, where that's at. Now you have the other cases. Remember, the first case, the Dominion, that's where this is at now. It's done. Bye-bye. The second one was Smartmatic, which sued MyPillow and myself in January of 2022, a year later. And when they sued, that now is sitting in Minneapolis with a judge that made a ruling, and then a week later, all the evidence came out about Smartmatic being guilty. So that's like a parked car sitting there. We're waiting to hear from the judge. That should go away. You got to be like my cousin Vinny, in light of the new evidence, case dismissed. But so I believe that'll be gone. Then we had the other case in Colorado last year where MyPillow won, and there's still money outstanding. They say I owe. That got appealed 2 days ago. And then you have the $5 million challenge, everybody, that they said Mike Lindell's evidence is no good. He lost. A year ago, that was overturned in Minneapolis here. And they said Mike was right, and he doesn't pay $5 million for the truth. There's only one truth, everybody. And David, you compare it, you look at the presidents, all the stuff they did against our president for the past 5 years, all these lawsuits and these cases against him. And one by one, you hear about his getting overturned. Donald Trump wins in appeal. Donald Trump wins in appeal. This is where we're at, everybody. The president and I were on the same page when he said the 2020 election was stolen. And we're both bringing it one step further. We have to secure our elections so these things never happen again. 132 countries have banned electronic voting machines. And they said this Save America Act, that's why he's right now saying, hey, I'm not signing anything unless you include this. When 80% of the people in the United States want to keep our elections secure and have people that are citizens are the ones voting, and you can't get this pushed through, if you can't get the Save America Act pushed through, I'm sorry, these Republicans that are out there in DC, even the Democrats for that matter, they're supposed to be there for the people. 80% of our country wants the Save America Act to have citizens vote, not illegals or not non-citizens.
Yeah, I heard a stat today. I have not verified it, okay? But I'm an American, and I think everybody should be an American first. And then you have a party. Clearly, I vote with Republicans because they tend to have common sense and core values of the Bible and of the Constitution. But that doesn't mean every Republican. There's a lot of rhinos out there. There's a lot of traitors out there. There's a lot of uniparties out there. But the stat I heard today was that 90+% of Republicans still love America, and only 22% of Democrats love America. And that, if that is a true statistic, I mean, you're talking just 20 years ago, the Democratic Party was 90% loves America. It just shows how flaming liberal, disgusting communist that party's become. And I can't imagine that it's the majority of America. I just think it's that evil uniparty at the top trying to put it on TV, pushing it into our minds to believe it's true when it's not. What's your opinion?
My opinion there is I don't believe that. I'd have to look at the poll. What don't they, when you say love America, they don't love America in this current state or whatever. I'd have to see how that's positioned. What I do believe is that you have a percentage of the population that has been completely brainwashed over decades. And we have a party over here, the Republican Party, that I believe is just as bad as far as blocking. When you talk about the party, I've had problems, and mostly with Republican Party, as far as blocking the efforts to secure our elections. And you're seeing that with the Save America Act. You expect that maybe out of the Democrat politicians, but in my experience the last 5 years, the deviation has been, why are these uniparty Republicans blocking? I believe this new party, what this is going to all manifest to, is the party not only of common sense, but the new party that has the people's back. And I'll tell you, David, I just spoke to Democrats yesterday. I did all these Zoom call all over Minnesota. It was older folks, and it was a room full. There was probably 100 in the room I was in, and then it was done by Zoom to 50 other locations. And I would say they were 80% Democrats, and they hit me with questions that they were just not knowledgeable about. And when I told them the truth there, I think a lot of this is educating them, and I think a lot will come around, because I think we all want one thing. We all want the American dream. We all want good lives while we're here, before we all go to heaven. And when I did this, one of the things, I'll give an example of what came up. One of the things was automatic weapons. This lady's in the front row. She goes, "How do you feel about automatic weapons and gun control?" And I said, in the first place, there are no automatic weapons. I said, "You're confusing it with semi-automatic weapons." And she goes, "What? No, wait, I'm not confusing it." I said, "Ma'am, an automatic weapon, you hold the trigger and..." I said, "I'm a hunter, and I've also had guns to my head in 3 robberies, 3 armed robberies, gun to my head." And I didn't say ban guns, because it happened. I've also had swords to my throat. I didn't say ban swords, right? And then she said, I explained what a semi-automatic weapon was, and she goes, and I said, "I'm a hunter," and she goes, "You need to be a better shot. You only need 1 shot." And I go, "Yeah." I said, "You don't understand." I said, "No, that's not true. If you have a wounded thing, whether it's a pheasant or duck, you need those shots." And then he basically just flipped around, because she wasn't like, I told you, it was like to educate them on that particular thing. Another one that came up, I don't need to get into everything that came up, but I did launch, or told them about my illegal plan for illegals. And I don't want to get into it today, but it actually, it'll probably be unaccepted by some Republicans, going, "What do you mean? Every illegal should be out of here. They came here illegally." I want to put something to the question before I launch this. I want to ask you all out there, think about an illegal that came here came over the border, whatever, maybe as a kid, but maybe basically invited with the open border. They'd never committed a crime. Let's say they've been here 20 years, might be your neighbor, might be somebody you know. And they've been here 20 years, let's say, or 10 years, never committed a crime. But in the meantime, they're people that know they're illegal, i.e. maybe some of their other illegals, maybe some people that are legal, and they're doing horrific stuff to them, and they can't tell on them because they're afraid of being gone. They're also being taken advantage of by anyone that's employing them, paying them cash. And this criminal employer here is not paying taxes and stealing billions from us as taxpayers because he's getting a bigger advantage using these people as slave labor, paying them cash. So I have a big plan to solve this. And this is some of the biggest arguments when you have sanctuary cities that don't work. But that was the premise behind that was, and when you heard about ICE going door to door, they're shipping out illegals. No, they were shipping out, there were times good illegals, good people, but the only crime they committed was they came into our country without going through the whole process. So, David, I got a big thing that I'm going to be running on to solve that. So I'm polling number one, everybody. They just did a poll. Polling number one in Minnesota by 5%. This poll went nationwide. This was a poll done by ABC, affiliate of ABC. So this is one that the last poll that came out was what we had paid to have the poll done, my campaign, by an outside party, and I was polling by 1% there. Or 2%. This time it's up to 5% done by ABC. And they didn't like saying Mike Lindell's in first place, let me tell you. And so as soon as this comes out, you guys, my campaign, we did a parade, and we're going to be doing 3 more this week. And we did a parade where, like back in the day with MyPillow, we throw out these little pillows, these little go anywhere pillows, throwing them out to the kids and to the people in the parade. And it's so much fun. It's so rewarding. And we did that. And then here comes the same ones that did the poll. They come out and attack me. This could be a campaign violation. They must really think, David, that I got to be the stupidest guy ever. Just walk in and think, oh, Mike Lindell's going to get that. Mike Lindell this. I do my due diligence. I do my due diligence. Of course, we check to see that it's not a violation. Just like when they mocked me when I gave out my books to the delegates, I give out my book. Can he do that? I don't know. It might not be a shirt or a hat or a big pamphlet that you spend all this money on coming in the mail to you. This book tells who I am. And the pillow with their literature in there, it was a beautiful thing. But the media hit me with that. But then I guess that kind of lost traction because of the Dominion dropping the lawsuit. But I'm really excited about in Minnesota, we have the fraud is such a blessing beyond anything you could imagine, everybody. And they're going, what do you mean, Mike, a blessing? And it's such a blessing. You can say ban Sharia law now, and you're not a racist. And this is true. We are the Trojan horse here for Muslims practicing Islam in Minnesota. This has to stop. Part of my illegal plan too, part of my plan too is one of the things in Minnesota for driving back in the day when I got all my DWIs, and we had a special license you got, and you had to go through hoops, some of them 10 years long to get your license back in the day. I had a 10-year gap one time. But when I got it back, it was like a probation of all probations. It had a big B on it for booze. They called it a B card. And so I got this with it, but I had to take all these separate tests and all these stipulations. When you get a driver's license, under my watch in Minnesota as governor, one of the qualifications, you have to learn English and you have to be able to read English. We're not changing every sign here in our country. I went downtown Minneapolis and the ATMs were in Somalian and I had to switch it to English. This is wrong. You got to assimilate. And anyone say, Mike, there's other countries have all these different languages. Good for them. We can't let it happen here. We need to, the costs incurred by that and the accidents that are happening. I'm in Minnesota, St. Cloud, Minnesota. It's ridiculous up there. They tell me, everyone I talk to, they say people are running into this, running into that. They can't read even a simple thing like a street sign. And
throughout history, I can't think of one empire or civilization that was strong that ever embraced other nations, languages, even cultures. You have your nation, you have your culture, you're proud of them, you put them first. And if we went to China or to Spain or to Mexico, we are to learn their language,
That's
especially if
right.
we want to integrate in their system.
If you
Do
want
you,
to, yeah.
do you know what I was told last week by a friend of mine? We have people coming from Mexico to America illegally, and America is paying them money. He couldn't get a visa to go to Mexico because he's self-employed and he didn't have proof of income to go to Mexico as an American. He was telling me you need to make a minimum of 4 to 6 grand a month. So while Mexico is saying you can't come here unless you're a prospering member of society, America is lost their mind and they're saying we're going to pay you 4 to 6 grand a month. Is that
Right.
not insane?
Yeah, no, it really is. But yeah, this will be when I unveil this plan. One of the things I'm doing too with not just my illegal plan that solves so many things, you guys, I'm so excited about. We'll probably I'll let you know, David, I can come on here right away and announce, lay out the whole plan. But I'm also doing another thing. I'm getting my budget done. I don't know if any governors have done that this early, but I'm getting the budget done because I get tired. Even my opponents out there, Kendall Qualls the other day, I'm going to save $9 billion. I'm going to give it back to the taxpayers. That's great. That's quite a promise, but how are you going to do that? Let's hear how you're going to do that, right? When you do your budget, everybody, and you run this, it'll show every single thing I plan on doing. And then they asked me, even at that speech last night, the question was, what are you going to do first? I'm going to be ready to hit the ground running with every single thing we have here in Minnesota. One of the biggest problems is we have 24 welfare programs and 400 NGOs that not only are not monitored right, but all the fraud that's come out of them, the billions in fraud. But I don't think anyone's looked into them and say, hey, are these working? Do you get a return on your investment? We get stuff pushed through all the time because with the Democrats just shoving stuff through and the governor is just stamping it as fast as they can. To me, a lot of these are nonsensical programs that don't help people. Forget about the fraud, everybody. They need to get a good return on the investment and also to get to the root of the problem. Don't just enable or just keep feeding this. That's not the answer. We'll just take addiction, get to the root of that and get these people the help they need and maybe subsidize the programs that work. Your teen challenges, your Salvation Army, two of the probably best organizations in world history that actually get an 85% on success rate in their addiction programs. It's amazing. And so these things you want to spend more money. Everybody get easy now. You spend more of taxpayer money on things that work. You expand on that and you eliminate things that don't work. And it's simple business 101. And boy, I can't wait to get these programs put in. And another thing they said to me last night during that, they go, Mike, are you going to honor the election? And I thought they were talking about this GOP fiasco in Minnesota where the machines went down. And I said, what do you mean? Of course, if someone else wins the primary, I'm going to honor that. And they said, no, we're talking about the general election. I go, what do you mean honor it? I go, are you saying that if it's stolen, if we can prove that this was stolen, would I honor that? Absolutely not. That should be what nobody should settle if they know there was stolen. And now we have cameras, we have eyes more than ever before in history. And I even said, I think I said that directly when the president won 2024. I had all at 2:30 in the morning down in Florida there. We went from Mar-a-Lago to the convention center and they're lined up like cordwood. All my favorite reporters and journalists, they all know me well. CNN, ABC, NBC, CBS. So they have Sue Ann be the little spokesman for him. And she comes up, she says, Mike, she says, now that your friend Donald Trump won, was this election secure? And I said, you guys, come on. I said, you put up Sue Ann to ask me that stupid question. I said, you all know me. I don't care what election it is. I don't trust any of them ever done with a computer or a voting machine, period. So, you can either take it for what it is. Isn't it funny, everybody, when you talk about the Uniparty, that the Democrats, there was only one Democrat, and it was I forget what her name was, out of Texas, that didn't question, that didn't go in and say, hey, let's look into these machines. There were so many irregularities in the 2024 election. Of course, most of them were against Donald Trump, but there was other places that I could have showed him where there's also where they manipulate certain races where all of a sudden you have a Democrat vote that flips to a Republican. This goes on. This is what we call the Uniparty, everybody. You're orchestrating this, and there's Uniparty. And I was just waiting for the Democrats, like Amy Klobuchar did in 2018 and 19, shouting from the rooftops to get rid of these voting machines. Of course, she never got sued. And here she is in Minnesota, 2 decades of being in the Senate. She goes, after the 2020 election, she goes silent on the election fraud, but brings 20 billion into Minnesota only to be sent off to Somalia. Good job there, Amy. That's why I'm running against governor, everybody, just so you all know. It's just such a common sense. As you can see, I'm pretty excited. I kind of got with all these good things going on. It's like energized. I just feel so much energized. I feel a big relief for my employees at MyPillow that the stockholders were an employee-owned company. They don't have to have that hanging over their head. And now with me heading over here as governor, I can separate myself and they're over here. And maybe then the box stores and all these will give them some grace. Mike Lindell's not over here now. Maybe we could carry the best pillow that man has ever seen, 85 billion sold, which might be a good transition, everybody. We have our second annual mega sale going on. We have now our new website. Anywhere you use the promo code Remarkable, you're going to get discounts other people don't get. You're going to get free shipping on your entire order. That's why they call it the most remarkable code in history. This is it. Your audience, David, has helped us so much get through the most troubling times. And you guys, 800-644-6612, 800-644-6612. Call and congratulate my employees and put in your order. Free shipping on your entire order. One of the things I want to tell people, our vendor, and David, a month ago, we were having a sale on our USA-made products, which was our mattresses, our mattress toppers. We had 50% off. Our vendor is so excited that he extended that. He's taken the hit over there because he's so excited that MyPillow isn't going anywhere. We're still standing, and you guys have helped. So you get 50% off the mattress toppers, the most amazing mattress toppers in history that help give you these good sleep cycles, REM and Delta sleep. Your body needs great sleep too. Or the mattresses. I helped design them. This coil, foam, hybrid mattress. I sleep on it every night. Delivered right to your front door for free, 50% off. And you have a 6-month money-back guarantee and a 10-year warranty. You owe yourself the best sleep ever. Now it's the best time ever to get these. But we've had our sheets are in. The Giza Dream sheets, they came in now as low as $29.98. All the different colors just got in this week. It's hard for us to keep this stuff in stock like we'd like to, because remember, we are our own bank. We're our own bank because of nobody would ever help us because of these lawsuits, this big lawsuit especially that just got dropped. So, we've had to rely on you guys to keep turning that product and keep MyPillow going, and it's a win-win.
Amen.
It's all wins.
100%. And there's so many comments, and I want to respect your time. But ladies and gentlemen, we just had family in town, and the 5-year-old boy loved the sheets so much that his uncle had on the bed that he asked for the sheets. So he went home with a set of sheets because the MyPillow sheets were just off the chart, and a 5-year-old recognized how comfortable they are. I personally have now, Mike, I have 2 different mattress toppers. I actually have one that has coil in it and foam, and then I have another one that's just straight foam, like thousands of little bumps.
Right.
Do you still offer both mattress toppers or just one now?
Yeah, we have them both, and they're both on sale. They have the one that you talk about with there's over 1,200 individual comfort supports on the queen alone. Now that one, I wanted to have two. That one's a lot more inexpensive than the other one, the foam and the coil, the one I have right here. And this one too, we've also added, there was some technology we added. I don't know if it was graphite or silver, whatever, but they know that was added along with the cooling effect and everything for temperature control. But we have both. They're both on sale. I know the one is as low as $99.98, but all the mattresses too. When I helped design the mattresses, I didn't just go in there and say, make me a mattress. I wanted to pay this much money so I can charge the public this much. I go into every product, you guys, and I re-engineer what I want the mattress to do or what I want the product to do. Like when I invented MyPillow, I wanted it to be able to adjust. I wanted it to be able to stay cool. I wanted to be able to wash and dry it. I wanted to be able to make it last 10 years. This is where I went in. I wanted to do something. So when I went in and helped design the mattresses, I said, what can we put on there will help you, give you great sleep? Your body needs great sleep. These delta sleep cycles, they're called. As we get into that, your body is it's all about pressure points and the comforts that can control those pressure points. And so that's what I've done. And then you put the cost to it. But we have a big advantage here at MyPillow, which I always look at negatives and turn them into positives. When all the box stores canceled MyPillow because of these lawsuits and all these horrible things that our government did to MyPillow, we lost these box stores. Shame on them for leaving for their number one products of all time. Everybody, from Walmart, which was the worst, all the way down the line. Walmart being the worst, their number one selling $60 product in history, and they pulled the pin because of politics and because of myself wanting to get rid of the voting machines. But anyway, we don't have a middleman anymore. It's us and you, the audience. So that's where we're able to demonstrate. How can you have things at 50% off and all these sales? Because it's from us to you. We don't have the box stores typically mark stuff up 55 points. If you had that's why the MyPillow now, the king size, $19.98 for the king size MyPillow. You go back just 4 or 5 years ago and they're $69 and $79, but the box stores are gone. I'm passing that savings on and it's been working. So I want to thank you all for that. Promo code Remarkable. Free shipping on your entire order today, right to your front door.
Yeah, and as a user and from all of our listeners around the world in our global community, thank you, Mike, because the promo code Remarkable, you've said before, it's a #1 code guaranteed, the highest discount, free shipping, and we thank you. And before God, like everybody listening who knows me, I don't endorse a product unless I believe in it. And before Mike and I met, before Mike and I had a relationship, I loved the MyPillow. And then I tried the sheets, the blankets. I have 4 mattresses, mattress toppers. They really are the best products I've ever used. And I just recently got one of these smart, not just smartwatches, but those health tracking. You take rolling averages, they even take your blood pressure. And when I was on vacation a couple weeks ago, my numbers were kind of iffy. As soon as I got home, it wasn't just being home, but it was being in the MyPillow bed with the mattress topper, the sheets, and the pillow. Man, it says I'm getting remarkable sleep. So go to mypillow.com, use promo code Remarkable, and shop to your heart's content. But the better thing is, ladies and gentlemen, if you have questions, there's Real Americans at 1-800-644-6612. They'll answer all your questions, guarantee you get the best deal, and you'll be able to get more for your money and sleep better than ever. So thank you, Mike, for all you do on the product side, because you really help people.
Yes, and thank you. And I want to add one more to it, everybody. Now, I want to talk a little bit about all my platforms. Another platform that I developed was 10 years ago and built it into this huge mini Amazon, which is entrepreneurs from the United States that you make USA made products. And I have a few over there that are on my own product. And one of them is My Coffee. My Coffee, the best coffee you will ever drink. And that's over there. But you can use promo code Remarkable on mystore.com too. and take it and check out all the entrepreneurs that we've helped over the years and all these innovative products. David, I think a person could sit there and shop for all day long and still not cover all the products and learn about them. Very innovative product. You see the poster behind me, the painting, the Vanessa, that's on my store. But I just want to do a little plug for that. And then I want to transition into you guys. If you still think I'm not being attacked, okay, are you ready for this? The Lindell Recovery Network.org to help addicts get to Jesus. And then also the Lindell Offense Fund, the Lindell Defense Fund. All of these entities just last Friday were shut down at the level, call it the merchant server level, where you couldn't, the merchant server level, where they weren't allowed to take our money. We had bots. One of the sites was attacked by bots out of Vermont, not Vermont. It was Canada, Vancouver, and it was like all of a sudden we go, wow, look at all these that came to our site. 22,000 came in an hour. No, those were bots, and they just attacked the companies. But on a bigger level was the big cards, and I won't name which one was really said, hey, we're going to drop you. And they did. They dropped on the merchant server level. So we've had to scramble. So any of you that have been to those sites, we've got two of them running again. You can go to the Lindell Recovery Network. This is the one Keith Ellison has attacked in Minnesota. He's the Attorney General, very bad guy, and he's attacked us. But you cannot donate on that site right now because of the merchant server. They've attacked us, David, at every level. We all know this is a spiritual battle of biblical proportions of good and evil. And so we got good things happening here, and then we get setbacks here, but we keep going with faith and pushing through. But I know I've gotten a lot of calls going, Mike, I tried to donate, I tried to help out. Now you can. You can go to, here's the big one, you can all go to MyPillowTrial.com. This is the one that ended, but we still have, there's legal costs to put the closure on that. That's MyPillowTrial.com. That one's up and working. And then I want to say this too. You talk about attacks, everybody. And we had, David, I don't know if you've seen the parade where we were throwing pillows out to the people.
Yeah, I saw some video and pictures of that. Everybody seems to be having a great time.
Yeah, they're having a great time. And then here they try and they come with campaign violations. We did our due diligence. Of course, it's not a violation. They want to just take everything evil. And this isn't, you guys, I want to say it's very strange when you look at it, because this isn't a Democrat Republican thing. They just want Mike Lindell gone. They don't want me talking about securing our elections. And they certainly don't want me being governor of Minnesota, because I really believe in Minnesota, we're the Trojan horse now for so much evil that beyond anything known to man. When you have a Governor Walz, it was a blessing. You all got to see the kind of person he is when he ran for vice president. And he got exposed, his ties to China and all these other things. But one of the things you all learned was he let the Satanists put a satanic statue in the Capitol. Now, that was, I believe, a year ago, or maybe a little over. And then he got an award for it from the Satanists, so they're still stored somewhere in the Capitol. I think the award's still up. But what he said was, we got to be fair. Fair to the devil? This is beyond anything. It's like all this stuff coming out of Minnesota, and it's just pure evil. So much of it is pure evil. So we have a big time in history to be so hopeful and so optimistic, because all of these things that are really bad are actually really good. Remember, you had to have Obama to get to Donald Trump. This is what I've always said. People had to experience all this division in our nation from Obama, saying that there's racism and all this stuff, and everybody was getting along. It was what Obama did. I call him the Great Divider, and plus being basically an attacker on Christianity. That's in my opinion. But people had to experience that to be able for Donald Trump to be in there as an outsider and win over with both these parties. And just like I believe the 2020 election, the most important election in history, manifested to where we are now, we had to have 5 years or 4 years of horrific, nonsensical things like men and women's sports and transvestites and transvestors and all these craziness, tampons in men's bathrooms, men that can, oh, what are you? No, I'm a woman. Oh, really? Wait, and you can have a baby? Yeah, yes, this is craziness. Nonsensical stuff shoved by us. It was so over the top that even from middle all the way out to maybe a 2% fringe out there is going, they're not even buying it. So what's going to happen is I think it's got big uniting of the people, not the politicians, but the people. I think this is going to be an amazing time as we're getting into where we all come together as people and we demand politicians that have the people's back. I don't care what party you're in. And there shouldn't be, David, it shouldn't be labeled, and maybe we got to get rid of this two-party system and change it. I don't know, but you certainly can't label everybody that's over here on the right is this and this, and over on the left, it used to be that wasn't like that. You go back 30, 40 years, you could have people on both sides that maybe this one's pro-gun, over here is a Democrat, maybe they're pro-life, and now it's, oh, you're this, so you're a Democrat, or you're this, you're a Republican. You follow me? This is, I think we're in a great transition, and we're in the greatest time to be alive to get through this transition, get our nation that had turned its back on God back to God. And we prayed, this is God's grace that we prayed for. We are living God's grace right now. But everyone's got to do their part and get through this. And I don't care which side you're on politically. We've got to give this our future of our nation and of the world and where we're going. And we're the a crossroads in history. When you have things coming in that are so scary, I don't care what anyone says. I said it 5 years ago. Where we're going into, if that's not regulated by people that have, or politicians that have the people's back to protect the people, I'm sorry, it's over. This is stuff that's so powerful, and it can be so good too. As David, you showed me some things, and it can be so powerful and do such good. But you got to look at, if you're doing good here, what is it hurting over here? Or if you're doing pure evil with it here, what are the penalties? There's got to be more stuff put in. And I think we've got to get out in front of that now. I kept sounding the alarm 5 years ago, but it's happening so fast. It's like, here it is, everybody. Here it is. You get into, but with God, all things are possible, and I really believe we will get the right transition through this. And if not, it's over. We all go to heaven as believers, and it's a win-win either way. But in the meantime, we've got to fight to secure the American dream in our lives while we're here.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And let's take a moment and talk to Americans. We want to be Americans, not Americans, not American won'ts, right? For the people who have just been burned, flagrant deception, corruption has been in our society and in our political system for years, where so many quality humans and Americans have just given up hope on the system. When you were mentioning earlier 400 NGOs, so a lot of people don't understand what an NGO is. That's a non-governmental organization. Mike, whether somebody is a Democrat, a Republican, a Libertarian, even a socialist or communist, if they're a real American, what is an NGO and why is it so important to get rid of those 400 in the state of Minnesota?
They're getting paid by our tax dollars, and they got to be vetted that you get a good REO, return on your investment, means do they help people? And is it the right help? I think because I'm going to set up a Minnesota DOGE, just like when they had a Minnesota DOGE, my lieutenant governor, Philip Parrish, was a Navy investigator, but he's going to be the one in charge of this, investigating all of these and you doing the DOGE for all these programs. And what we have is, you remember when the president started digging into that, when Elon Musk, we had things like, $400 million went over to Nigeria to investigate frogs having by some tree, whatever it would be. And these things got to be looked at. 400 in Minnesota. I think we're second in the nation, or maybe first. And I want to say it's like 6,000 some odd dollars per person spent on just these fraud or just these welfare programs. That might not even count the NGOs. So what I'm saying is we have more money spent to supposedly help people, but if they're not helping people in any way, you've got to either get rid of the programs or at least have an end game to them. So this is where all our money's spent. I don't care what state you're in. Most of your money of your tax dollars goes to programs like this or NGOs. It's welfare programs, the non-government agencies that are asked to get money, or organizations, non-government organizations. And if you don't look at them and say, because what happens is, David, they get passed, they get run through Congress or whatever, and the governor stamps, say, oh, good idea. But I don't think anybody looks into after they're already there. You have people complain about them for about 3 months if it's nonsensical, but then they stay there. They stay there until someone raises their hand and tells the public, hey, look at this. Do you want your money going to these organizations? When 3 people benefit or no people benefit, but millions of people put money into this pot, and hey, there might be some that are a great idea, but they're not getting enough funding. You have to go through each one. What if this was your only one? This is what I do everything. What if, like MyPillow shows, what if this was your only show? You want to make it the best you can be. What if this was all these people everybody had to rely on this NGO? You better look into it and make it so that your bang for your buck is the best here to produce the ROI here, which might mean getting people help that are homeless, whatever it would be. But you got to have an end game. Does it produce people that can get homes or get places to live? Not just keep supplying money to here's free. No, that's not what we're looking at, everybody. And most of these NGOs, they could care less about the ROI. They want to get the money handed to them. You got to look at them. How much of the money, and this was my wheelhouse for 12 years, everybody. This is what I looked into when I had my foundation, and I did a prototype in Detroit where we tested, what if you use private sector subsidies to these programs? There's people out here that want to give money out of their own pocket and help without even taxing them. They want to help, but they want to know that they're getting a big bang for their buck. They don't want it to be like the old days, these things overseas where they said 30 years ago, you'd have the TV channels, they'd show all these children homeless and shirtless and muddy in mud puddles or whatever, going, give money today, and you find out a nickel for every dollar actually gets to the person or the child. This is where we have to say, hey, what if 100% of your money made it to the need? And then the government only have to spend this much money. When I did it, it saved 40%, everybody. 40% with if you have these welfare programs and NGOs, imagine taking the fraud out, then fixing them, subsidizing with private sector money, and saving another 40%. I want Minnesota to be the prototype and the example for the whole nation. This is what it should be. You know?
And this has to be addressed, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm going to oversimplify, but the large majority of NGOs are fraudulent. They're politicians going around the system to get what they want and embezzle money. And an NGO has zero government they have no accountability to the government. So they're taking money and they have no accountability. And guys like George Soros are masters of manipulating the system and embezzling money. So that's why having 400 in your state, Mike, when you become governor, I know that's one of the priorities, to get rid of those NGOs if possible. So let's talk about this too. Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr., Kash Patel, people from different parties, but man, they're doing an amazing job. They're exposing the fraud we all know is there. People would say it's conspiracy theory, but it's not. Yet none of the news and media outlets are reporting on it, right? So you have these problems. You've experienced it firsthand. Is there anything we as citizens can do to help these situations?
Yeah, what you have, everybody, our voice now is the biggest voice that's ever been in history. You're not going to see things reported in the news if they want to suppress it. They're all in cahoots across the board. So Fox News, when it comes to elections, Fox News and Newsmax being the worst, but it could be anything. Yesterday, when it came out about Dominion dropping the case against MyPillow and myself, David, you know what my thing was? I'm going, I'll bet you none of the media will cover it, right? And because one little article came out by halfway through the day, that was it. And I'm going, I need to spread the word, not only that it was dropped, but that we had evidence now at LindellTV.com, 800 pages. It was, what a coincidence that it all dropped the same day. But what we did is people started to grab this online, we have 14 social media platforms. As I started putting it out there, then all of a sudden I get a call by an outlet in St. Louis, and he put it out there. Then another one put it out there, and then it gets to be, once it's out there in the social media realm, then these big outlets have to report it, even though they don't want to. CBS reported it, then Yahoo Today, MSN. You still won't see, isn't this funny, everybody? You will not see Fox News or Newsmax reporting that Dominion dropped their lawsuit against Mike and MyPillow, probably because both of them settled, like Fox settled for $787 million. Give me a break. Maybe you should have held out a little longer, Fox. And they would have walked away because they don't want things put out there with these voting machines. So anyway, to answer your question is, everybody, what you can do, go on social media platforms, you can follow me. You can go to LindellTV.com, get out there and spread the news. You spread this podcast far and wide. You need to get involved with what you have. Get on all the social media platforms, even if you have 5, 10 friends, and you spread the news, the truth. Whether it's good or bad, to get it out there, then people can get on board with things that are actually happening and get knowledgeable, so they're not just brainwashed anymore by 3 networks and Fox, CNN, and MSNBC or whatever they call it nowadays. And then you got your ABC, CBS, NBC. So those 6. We don't have to listen to all of them anymore, everybody. They need to listen to us, because if they don't talk, everyone's going, why aren't you telling us about the hurricane that's coming over the border here? Fox, why aren't you talking about this when everybody else is? Or CNN, why are you putting out fake news when all the real news is here? This is where we're at. So this is the great hope, everybody, the place we're in right now that we can all get involved with.
That's right. And ladies and gentlemen, just like Mike's saying, take this episode, share it with your friends, pull clips, send timestamps, get the information out there, verify it. Trust but verify. Ronald Reagan's one of his famous quotes. But share this information, not so we can get more popular, but so truth can get out and we can help restore America, make it great again. And Mike, we're at 55, 56 minutes. I know you're so busy, and I'm thankful, and all our listeners thankful to have you here. But any closing thoughts, or how can somebody join in and help support you in the campaign if they want to?
Yeah, you guys, it can really help right now. We need all your help at gov.com. I got the marketing down. I just need right now the resources to win and to give this not only Minnesota hope, but the nation hope. Everything as we move forward here and have these positives, but it's lindellgov.com. Help out the campaign now. And if you want to help out with the defense fund, you can go to mypillowtrial.com. And if you want to just help yourself and help MyPillow that's been attacked for 5 years, use that promo code REMARKABLE. Go to mypillow.com. And by the way, you can use Remarkable right on the main site now to get discounts no one else can get. Put that code in right away. Otherwise, you go to mypillow.com/remarkable. Call 800-644-6612. I want to thank you all. I got to get on. I'm doing call after call here. The media is actually reaching out to me, David, for a change. Except for Fox.
Yeah, they'll get there. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you again, Mike, for being here. I will try my best to put a link in the show notes to a copy of that report, so you can just click and go to it so you can see what Mike's talking about.
LindellTV, LindellTV.com. It's the third square down, 800. If anyone ever says there's no evidence, now you got the biggest historical library of evidence in history.
Awesome. And then also, Mike is running for governor, and his lieutenant governor is Philip Parrish. We had him on the show. I'll put a link in there. Another phenomenal human. So these men, I believe God will use to restore Minnesota. And if we can restore Minnesota, we can restore any state in the union, right?
Right on. And Philip was a naval intelligence officer. This is what he does. So when he's my lieutenant governor, when we get in, he's going to be to the Minnesota DOGE, and he's going to investigate everything.
Amen. All right. Mike, thanks for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, please share this episode with your friends and family. Use promo code Remarkable at MyPillow and my store, and support Mike at LindellGov.com. And we'll see you in the next episode. Ciao.
Thanks, David.
The Remarkable People Podcast. Check it out. The Remarkable People Podcast. Listen, do, repeat. For life. The Remarkable People Podcast.